So I was trying to think, what can I do to bring in extra money so that I can teach down there? So came up with the boat idea. So I approached my captain and I was like, hey, I want to have a business meeting and discussion with you. So we sat down and we had like a real heart to heart talk. I was like, this is what I can do for you. This is how you come into the picture. This is what my vision is. What do you think? And he's like, let's do it.
Welcome to the Teacher Money Show, the podcast dedicated to helping educators like yourself navigate your unique financial challenges and unlock your financial superpowers. I'm your host, Sean Morgan, a full-time teacher and entrepreneur, and I'm here to help teachers navigate everything related to your money. Whether you have questions about budgeting on a teacher's salary, managing student loans, increasing your income, or making the most of your benefits, I'm here to make money less confusing, more empowering, and a tool you can use to focus on what matters most. So whether you're a seasoned teacher looking for fresh insights or a new educator navigating your first paycheck, this podcast is your go-to resource for all things money related. So if you're ready to have a richer wallet, classroom, and life, let's dive in. The contents of this podcast are informational in nature and are not legal or tax advice, and neither I nor my guests are engaged in the provision of legal, tax, or any other advice. You should not act upon this information without first seeking appropriate advice from an accountant, financial planner, lawyer, or other professional. I'm so excited to have Guin Geyer here today for this awesome interview. Before we dive on in, I just want to remind everyone to subscribe to this podcast, leave us an honest rating or review, and if you're watching on YouTube or anything like that, give us a like just to help the podcast reach as many teachers as possible, as we're trying to help teachers really take control of their finances. Guin, so great to have you here today. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for hosting me this evening. I appreciate it.
I'm very glad to have you. So we're just going to dive right in with, where are you? What do you do in education, or what have you done in education? Just tell us a bit about your education journey.
Okay. I am in Oklahoma. I'm in central Oklahoma, the home of Oklahoma University. I actually graduated from the University of Oklahoma a very long time ago. This is my 20th year in education. I am a special education teacher. I specialize in working with children that have autism and behavioral needs, and I'm also the department head at my school. Said 20th year in education. I thrive on helping teachers. We've started a Facebook page that there's almost 4,000 teachers in statewide. Really, really super cool resource for special education teachers. And it's got some really important key players in education in our state, so we can affect a lot of really great things for kids here.
Well, bless you for being a SPED teacher. I always tell people that if you think teaching is hard, you have not heard about SPED teaching. It's like taking the hardest job in the world and doubling it. So bless you for doing that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I have a passion for making sure that the field is leveraged for every single person, no matter what abilities they have or are working on developing.
That's amazing. And really, I can tell that you have this giving heart, which I feel like most educators have. I mean, you've got this Facebook group where you're supporting educators, you're trying to help as many people as possible, and that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today. You have this goal to really give back, and this thing that you shared with me is that you have purchased a business, or at least shares in a business, with the intention of using the profits to give back to education. And I believe it's in Honduras, which is, like kind of out there. So why Honduras, and why purchasing a business to give back? And what's your thoughts there? I just want to hear about this.
Sure. So, so all of that starts off with a organization called Fund for Teachers. They will give you $5,000 for an individual or $10,000 for a group of two or more to create your own problem, a professional develop to solve a problem of practice that you have. So I've actually received two $5,000 grants for Fund for Teachers. And my second one that I developed this year was to learn how to speak Spanish. And I wanted to study about the Mezo American Reef. that's in the Caribbean. It's the second largest reef in the entire world, and something that I have a love for personally. And there's not a lot of reefs in Oklahoma to study. I also wanted to learn from the best Spanish teacher that I could find in the entire world. Um, about 80% of my students at my school are either bilingual or they are newcomers, is how it's referred to. And they are people that are emerging with the English language. So it was really important for me to be able to connect to families in their own language. It's hard to have a real true conversation about a person's child if you can't understand what they're asking you. So that was kind of my basis for writing that grant to go to Honduras. So fast forward, I started looking for the best Spanish teacher that I could find in the entire world. And turns out she lives in Roatan. So I booked a trip and I got my grant to go down there and learn from her and to learn about the education system there. I got to make lots and lots of connections with teachers, with students. I got to volunteer with a school there. It's called the Charmont Bilingual Academy. They serve students that are homeless, students that have lost family members to HIV or AIDS, or they may have that disease themselves. So there's 80 children at that school. I got to volunteer in the kindergarten class. I got to volunteer in the second and third grade class and make some great connections with the high school kids. So wonderful director there. And she's running a private school and just, taking care of these kids. And a lot of these kids are homeless. Whenever they leave, they are going back out into the community, which is kind of the community that I pour into here in Oklahoma as well. So it was just a good fit. So that was one of the connections that I made there. I also made a friend with the local on the island, and he took me into all the interior of the island. I got to meet with teachers that are like teaching in the middle of the jungle, with no indoor plumbing and no electricity and no water. And they've got, this water tank in the corner, and they've got some kind of like makeshift way to keep things cool. And it's incredible the amount of resources that they are utilizing and the lack of resources, that things that we take for granted here. The way that people think that they live in poverty here is nothing compared to what I saw there. And it's literally like some of the poorest places are like 4 blocks away from the port, where there's people getting off and spending thousands of dollars to go on a cruise ship for a week. It's such a division of resources. It's really incredible. So that's why Honduras. I went and found a Spanish teacher there. I absolutely love the ocean. I wanted to teach my students about that, and I just made some incredible connections while I was there, further than I ever dreamed.
That is an awesome story. I love that you really leveraged this. Did you say fund for teachers?
Fund for teachers.
Fund
Yes.
for teachers. All right. Getting a grant to develop yourself with the Spanish language, and then more than that, the relationships that you're creating, I think are super powerful, because relationships more than anything else are going to raise all boats, as the saying goes, right? The rising tide raises all boats. And I think that rising tide is relationships. When you connect with other people, it's not a world of, if this person gets, then that person has to lose. Right. It's a world of relationships where if one person in the relationship gets, the other person in the relationship can also get, and we can all raise together. And I think that's amazing that you're leveraging those relationships, but not just for you to get ahead, but that you're wanting to give back to that relationship as well. I think that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something. So basically, you're asking. I guess we're going to get to that next part with the company and stuff that I purchased. So.
Right. So let's talk about it. So you purchased a company. How did that come about?
So that's actually kind of a crazy story. So I was going back and forth with my taxi that was picking me up from the place that I was staying at every day. and running me to my classes. And somebody at the place that I was staying at was telling me about a trip to Cayos Cochinos, which is kind of cool. It was like, I'm a Survivor fan. I'm kind of goofy with that. And Survivor was filmed on Cayos Cochinos, which is 30 miles out across open sea, to go and visit this island. And you can visit people there, and it's just beautiful. And that's where Survivor was filmed in 2020. So I thought that was, that'd be kind of a cool thing to go do while I was there, and kind of make connections with the people there. So I rented a boat at the end of my trip. It was probably, I don't know, maybe a week or so before I was about to leave. And all of these people had been helping me on the island. And, everybody was telling me about how beautiful this trip was and all this kind of stuff. So I invited all the different locals that I had met, and the different divers that I met, and different people that I had met, and to go on this trip. Well, the day of the trip comes, and a couple of my friends that I met from Miami that are teachers showed up, and the diver that had met down there had showed up, but none of the locals came. So we all piled into the boat, and we take this wild ride across 30 miles of open sea. And I don't know anything about boats, and I don't know how big a boat's supposed to be whenever you go on things, or how little or whatever. But we're on this little 27-foot panga boat going across this open ocean, which I know now is probably a kind of a small boat to be doing that in. And so we get out there, we wild ride on the way out there, get out there, absolutely the most beautiful place. I was giggling while I was snorkeling. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, best moment ever, like amazing, like top of the notch, right? Get out there, I'm like filming all this with my GoPro camera, just beautiful reef out there that I'm snorkeling on. We get back on the boat, and the captain's like, oh, it's going to be smooth sailing on the way back. We are coming back, and the wind kicks up like an extra 15 miles an hour, and we are using this little 27-foot panga boat like a surfboard, and we are going on these 15-foot waves and going from wave to wave, and I am like tucked in. I thought we were going to die. So we finally get back, and we don't die, pretty scary. I went from way up here to so we get back, and after I calm down and chill out, I'm like, I could market this guy as like an extreme boat guide, because people like to push things to the edge and not die, and then tell people about it, right? So I was like, I could talk to this guy, and maybe we could do this. And I noticed that, he needed help with marketing his company. He's a local on the island. He was telling me all kinds. I'm a literature teacher, and I love to hear people's stories. So he's telling me about all these great ideas that he had, and really, really super smart guy. It's just like you just needed to cut a break. And he had 63 followers on Facebook. So I have quite a following on Facebook. I have almost 6 million views on Google. And I've gotten to where I can kind of leverage social media for things. And I was like, hey, how about we strike up a deal? Because ultimately I want to be able to teach down there, but teachers only make $400 a month, which I can spend in about 2 days there, right? So I can't live down there on $400 a month. I could, but I'm not going to live like that. So I was trying to think, what can I do to bring in extra money so that I can teach down there? So came up with the boat idea. So I approached my captain, and I was like, hey, I want to have a business meeting and discussion with you. So we sat down, and we had a real heart-to-heart talk. I was like, this is what I can do for you. This is how you come into the picture. This is what my vision is. What do you think? And he's like, let's do it. So we did.
Awesome. That's really cool. Once again, you're connecting with somebody, building a relationship. So you are hoping to bring in the profits from this business, and you said you want to teach down there. Do you have any other plans with what you're going to do to help this community?
So my ultimate goal, one thing that I noticed, like I said, I'm a special education teacher. It's my jam. I can I either know how to hang with kids, or I have connections of getting supports for kids in this special education realm, and there is not a large resource for that on the island. So that's somewhere that I felt like I could really kind of fill a niche, help teachers along the island, help plug them into our group on Facebook, help them to know, just one kid on one, like how to help those kids that are struggling. They have a pretty intense suspension program for kids that are not like fitting into the mold down there. And just being able to work with teachers to show them different ways of doing things with kiddos and giving them some ideas of how to work with kiddos that are a little bit different. um and just realizing that all kids are different, and just a way to plug into that. My ultimate goal, like beautiful goal, I really am somebody that, like, my word of the year is joy, and I really want to spread that joy. So I want to start a school of joy there, where kids come and they have plenty to eat, and they've got clothes that they need them, and they've got hygiene things that they need, and they're getting a quality education, that they're coming to feel loved, and that we're pouring into their families and helping their entire family grow as a unit, and just being able to help, wherever we can get plugged in there. But that's what that would be the ultimate goal.
So, to do this, right, to invest into a boat company, to open up a school, to put yourself in a financial position where you can go down to Honduras and live down there. I mean, that does take some financial savvy. What did you do to prepare yourself for this?
Well, I didn't know exactly what was going to happen um, on this trip, but I have a way of being able to, like you were saying about building connections. My superpower is building relationships and building connections with people. It's just what I do. I like, I mean, you have to be that kind of person to be a special education teacher, because you're working on a team of teams, and you're working with parents, and you're working with the community, and figuring out how to make sure that people are getting, plugged into the best job that they can get, that they're getting the best education that they can get. That is the key to a long life for everyone. And making sure that everyone has some type of job that they're plugged into. And I just, I don't know, I just wanted to make sure that I honestly, I saved, and I begged, borrowed, and steal every single dollar that I could, because I didn't know what kind of opportunities were going to pop up, but I was hoping something would, and I would be able to seize that moment. You know what I mean? I don't want to be in a situation to where it's like somebody's trying to give me the golden goose and I don't have a hand to take it. And and this was such a good opportunity. Even if it doesn't work, I am learning so much. I've met some incredible connections. I am plugged into this whole world of cool people right now. I met it even on the way down there. I was sitting next to a lady. She ends up being the head of the Boys and Girls Club in Miami. She was going down with her new husband. She had been invited down, but she's a doctor. Her ultimate goal is to have clinics in every single place that is impoverished, to make sure that people have access to healthcare. Well, now we're talking about putting a clinic at the school that I volunteer at there. How freaking cool is that?
That is
So,
way cool. I really like. I want to just hit on two things you said. So you prepared, not even knowing what the opportunity would be. I think that is huge. We can't just say like, well, nothing's going to happen, or it's going to go like this. I mean, I'm going to work every single day of my 35 years as a teacher, and I won't have to do anything because it'll all work out at the end with my pension will be fine, and that's going to be enough. You never know what's going to happen in your life. So you need to do that upfront work, right? That big bar and seal type of work up front, so that way you can be ready for whatever is going to be happening. I think that's huge. And then I think the other thing, my favorite word in there is superpower. I talk about superpowers all the time. Teachers have superpowers, and whatever your superpowers are, there are some that we all share in common as teachers, and there's others that we all have. that's what we need to leverage in ourselves to become successful, financially, in our teaching, in our relationships. When we build on what we're good at already, we can become wildly successful without having to make $200,000 a year or anything like that. It's very, very possible if we are using that superpower that we have. So are you going to do anything to like in the setting, the school that you're trying to, are you going to maybe teach like skills to help bring these people out of poverty, financial skills, or like job skills or things like that? Like what is that going to look like for this community?
So me personally, where I developed a lot of financial skills, I actually went to Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University. It was part of our church. Wasn't very wealthy whenever we went. My ex-husband and I went to that together. We learned about just wow, what a way, learned about how each people think about money and how people use money as a tool and not the thing that you're scraping to survive. And just learned about how to see money in a completely different way. I came from an extremely impoverished situation. I became a mom at 18 years old. I also got custody of one of my siblings. My mother was very, very sick and could not take care of us. And so I was raising two kids at the age of 18. I was working. I was going to college full time. I became a foster mom at that time, ended up ultimately having 6 kids in my home. So, just, I don't know. I want to make sure that I give those kids, I want them to realize that they don't have to be what their circumstances are, what your circumstances don't determine, where you're going. You determine that no matter where you're at, whether it's there, whether it's here, that, your mind is what sets up your limitations more so than anything else. And you're not thinking you can do something. You know what I mean? So if you think that you can pull all the stars out of the sky, by golly, give it a shot. I mean, that's the way I see it. And I mean, like right now, my dream to go down there, my whole Fund for Teachers dream was to be able to come back and be able to have some conversations with my families and be able to kind of, leverage that language skill and to be able to do some diving because I love to be on the reef. But the education, man, I'll tell you what I learned is that my families and my kids that are coming, that they are escaping situations that are I have a whole different respect for the education system that they are coming from and that they're coming to. And it gives me it gives me more respect for my kids that I'm working with and their families. And how hard it is to learn another language. I mean, I started this in like April and I'm still just like sound like a monster, and I'm trying. My Spanish teacher there, she gave me some really good advice. And she said learning a language is like the ocean. She goes, you wouldn't just jump into the ocean without a life jacket. And no matter how much you swim in the ocean, you're never ever going to accomplish the entire ocean. So you just take it a little bit at a time and you do the best that you can. And the longer you swim in the ocean, the better you get at it. So I thought that was really, really cool. But ultimately, the biggest education that I got from this whole thing was having more respect for my students and the struggle that it is to to learn another language and to be brave enough to have a job and be speaking in another language. And they're not just learning from one. I mean, they've got 2 languages that they're learning from, and they're smarter than I am. They've got all these things that they've got going on, and all these things that they're learning and being brave and trying to make connections in the community where they may not have. It's just mind blowing. Like, It's mind blowing. And it's like I said, I mean, that it's some of the students there, like I was talking to the teachers, sometimes they're not reading until like the third grade. Well, if we get a third grader up here, we're assuming they know how to read, right?
Yeah.
And no, that's not necessarily the case, you know. And the way that the discipline system is down there, it's like the first time you get kicked out of school for a month, the second time you get kicked out of school for 6 months, and the third time it's permanent.
Wow,
And
that's
that's it.
crazy.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's not 8 steps until you get suspended the first time, and like all this. And I mean, and it is like, if you want an education, sorry if you've got ADHD, sorry if you're autistic, sorry if you've got a disability or whatever, you either are there for an education or you're not. And that's it. I mean, it's pretty intense.
That is intense, and I think that I love the thing that you said earlier about the mind is your only limitation, because that's if you're teaching that to these students in Honduras, or teaching that to these students when they come, showing them that the limit is only what they perceive, right? That anyone can do anything. And we talk about this all the time in schools, but I think that teachers need to hear this as well, right? If you're teaching your students growth mindset, that they can achieve anything, there's no limits but their mind, then we put limits on ourselves on what we can do to be successful. That's just, we're doing like a two-faced hypocritical thing. We're saying like, oh yeah, my student can do anything, I can't do anything. But like teachers, we can do anything. We don't have any limits if we put our mind to it. I love that you're living out a dream right now. You're pushing for something that's huge. You are giving back in a meaningful way, and it's not like you're just opening up your wallet and dumping all of your own money into it. You're going to be poor as a result, and you are not letting yourself be run over by administrators because you feel like you have to give back. You are giving back in a meaningful way without doing all these limiting belief things that a lot of teachers tell themselves that they have to do in order to be a good teacher. And I think that is a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah. And, with, like you were talking about growth mindset and all that kind of good stuff, I hear a lot of people, oh, well, we can't because, their parents don't do this, or we can't because they haven't had exposure to this, or, I heard somebody one time, it's like you can either make excuses or you can make things happen, but you can't do both. Period.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make excuses, or you can keep knocking on doors and keep asking questions until somebody has the answer to the question that you seek. You know what I mean? Like it may, you think about all the people that are successful in the world. You can look up interviews with all the people that are successful. You talk to Steve Harvey, you talk to, Michael Jordan, you talk to these people, people that just stuck with it and stuck with it and stuck with it and didn't let anybody squash their dreams. And they just kept sticking with it. And I'm going to stick with my dream too. I am dreaming something bigger right now than I ever dreamed for myself. Like this is so beyond any scope. And I was talking to my brother the other day, and he said, it sounds like all your dreams are about to come true. Do you think you can handle that? So I'm like, I'm going to give it my best try.
I love it. I love it. Well, we're coming up on our time here. So I once again want to reiterate that it's very much so possible for you to give back in a big way, in a meaningful way. You just need to find your place to do that. And now that you're doing this, do you have a bit of advice for anyone else who's wanting to pursue a dream, maybe a dream to make a difference in education somewhere, or generally, or anything like that?
So I thought about this as far as advice goes. My biggest advice for anyone in this is to find other people that are like-minded. There are other adventurers out there that are like-minded. There are 90 people that will tell you can't do it. But if you keep asking and you keep knocking on doors, you're going to find your tribe of people that are adventurous, that are thinking what you're doing is cool, and surround yourself by those people. Don't let anybody tell you can't do anything.
I love
That's my advice.
I love it. Find your tribe. And I'm hoping that, as we get more people listening to this podcast, we'll be able to make this a tribe of people who are, having that growth mindset in education, that we can do it, we can be successful, forgetting our limiting beliefs that too many teachers tell themselves, forgetting this unspoken vow of poverty, and this unspoken vow of giving more time than is necessary to education, while still being amazing teachers. And I hope that we can all just grow together as we do this. I was kind of keeping that separate from the question, what is your number one tip for teachers to have a richer wallet classroom in life? But is that going to be your same answer? Or do you have another answer for that one?
That's it.
Okay, that's it. So follow your dreams by making connections, having people with that same mindset around you. It's going to help you follow your dreams and help you have a richer wallet classroom in life. I love it. And our last question then is, where can teachers get in contact with you?
So you can get in contact with me a few different ways. You can find me on Facebook. It's under Guin Geyer. It's spelled Guin, and my last name is Geyer. You can plug into my Facebook educators page at OK Special Educators. We have educators in there from all over the world, and we help people from all over the world. We have legislators in there. We have files in there. I have teachers from Honduras in there now, that we're plugging into them. So that's another way that you can find me, or you can check out my boat company. It's called Roatan Splash Dash. We've had over 75,000 views since I launched our Facebook site about 3 weeks ago.
Can you say the boat company's name one more time?
Roatan Splash Dash.
All right. I will link to all of those in our show notes. You can find all show notes for this show at teachermoneyshow.com/podcast. You'll find all of our show notes for any of the shows on that page. Thank you so much, Gwen. It was wonderful having you here. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me this evening, and I wish you luck with your podcast. I hope you continue to find really, really great people to interview.
If you'd like to come on the podcast for coaching, to share an expert opinion, or just to talk about a topic you think is relevant, I'd love to talk to you. Just fill out the form at teachermoneyshow.com/guest. I look forward to talking with you.